Are you thinking about moving to Navarre, Florida? Well, after you watch this episode, you might not want to. Hey everybody, I'm Kristen Weller and I am your Navarre, Florida local real estate agent. And in this video, we are going to talk about 10 things that might make you want to reconsider moving to Navarre, Florida. It might hurt, but I think that you need to know these things before you move here. Okay, number one is traffic. So our motto used to be Navarre's best kept secret, or Florida's best kept secret actually, but the secret's out. We have a lot of tourists here. We have a lot of people that want to move here, whether they're military or whether they're from the north and just want to get out of the snow and the politics. But right now, the traffic is kind of a thing. So, we only have so much infrastructure here. If you're looking at a map, there's only one east-west street. So getting around can sometimes, depending on time of day and type of season, it can kind of be a headache. So number two is humidity. Now, you might think this might be a no-brainer, duh, we're, southern United States, it's humid down here, but it is hot and it is humid. So, especially my girls with curly hair, this is something that you have to get used to. When we first moved here back in 2006, my husband and I had just gotten married. I had long, wedding hair. I cut it all off like up to my chin within a matter of days because it was so hot and all the extra weight and everything just made me sweaty. But two, I didn't know how to deal with the humidity. My hair just got super huge. So as you live here for a little bit, what I tell people, it took me about a year to get used to the heat and the humidity. And the humidity doesn't go away. It's not just a summer thing. It's an all around, year-long thing. So you do have to kind of get used to it. In the winter time, we actually sometimes have to run our air conditioner just to get the humidity out. So it's a real thing and something you have to get used to. And if you don't like humidity, this isn't the place for you. Number three is hurricanes. Now, again, this is a no-brainer. We live in Florida in the Gulf Coast area. We get hurricanes. So yes, this is just something you have to consider when you move here. Now, the thing to keep in mind, so I've lived in areas where there were tornadoes, I've lived in areas where there were earthquakes, and to me, above all the natural disasters, at least that I've experienced, like flash flooding and things like that, hurricanes are at least the one that, I don't want to say it's the best one, but you get the most time to figure out what you're going to do. We know that there's a hurricane coming once it's a wave off Africa. We don't know where it's going to go, but we at least know to prep for it. So to me, out of all the natural disasters, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, obviously they happen all of a sudden. Tornadoes, you kind of know it might be a day that you might get one, but they just pop out of nowhere. So at least with hurricanes, you get time to prepare and time to figure out if you're going to leave or not leave and that kind of stuff. So to me, yes, it's something you need to consider. And I know for a lot of people, it's kind of causes more anxiety because you do know it's out there for a while and you're kind of on edge, like figuring out the spaghetti models and seeing where it's going and all that stuff. But to me, this is the one that at least out of all the natural disasters, I would rather, because you do get time to prepare. Obviously, it could be huge destruction, but it's just one of those things where I'd rather be prepared and get my family out than having to scramble in the middle of the night to find tornado shelter, or same with the earthquake. So it is something to consider. So if it's not something that you think you can handle, then this might not be the place for you. If it is, then keep it on your list. So number four is bugs. Now I'm going to include spiders, bugs, insects, geckos, snakes, all of those little things that are smaller, little scary things all together in one group, because again, we are in the South. It is moist down here. Sorry if you don't like that word, but we have a lot of little creepy crawlies all over the place. We've got ones that are not going to really hurt you, and then we've got ones that are venomous and could possibly kill your dog if they get bit or stung by one. So we do have fire ants. We have black widows, brown recluses, venomous snakes, non-venomous snakes. We have things called no-see-ums, which these things, you literally can't see them unless you're really looking at it, because even on your ankles or your hands, they just look like little black dots. Those suckers hurt after, you can walk away with welts. It's the craziest thing. But anyway, we've got those little guys. I'm going to cheat and look at my notes because I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff. We have rats. Yes, we have rats. And they're not little teeny things. They're big honking things, and they like to go in your attic. Now it depends on kind of where you're at, so don't freak out too much about rats, but we do have them. Mice, we actually had a dead mouse in our garage last summer, so that was fun to get rid of, but we've got all of those things. Love bugs. Now, it sounds adorable, love bugs, yes. They're disgusting. They're little bugs that like attach themselves and they float around like that. They look like little lightning bugs almost without the light, but they are attracted to white and light colors. So if you're, if it's love bug season, you'll see them all over your garage door if you have a white garage door. You'll see them all along the front of your car. Like, it's disgusting. But we've got all these kinds of cockroaches. Well, here they're called palmetto bugs. Now, if you're from the Midwest, especially if you're from a bigger city like Chicago, New York, that kind of thing, we call them cockroaches. Well, here they get a nice pretty name called a palmetto bug. They are in the same family, but they are different. So where I'm from, like, Chicagoland area, and when we think of cockroaches, we think of dirty and disgusting. Well, palmetto bugs, if they're in your house, they're just looking for like a water source. They actually live in the little, like if you're looking at a palm tree, like they're like little, the trunk have like little things that come out and they like to live inside of that. So the ones here are not, if you get one in your house, it doesn't mean you're dirty. It just means that it came in on your dog probably, because they do fly. That's fun. Yeah, they fly. And they're like this big around. But anyway, so, it doesn't mean you're dirty, but that's just something you have to think of too, because we've got all these things. Mosquitoes, the state bird of Florida, and these things are huge. So yeah, we've got all the things. So if you're not a bug person, don't come down here. But if you don't mind them and you can get used to them, like I have, it's not super bad. We had a snake in the house in our first house, and I had to get rid of it because my husband was deployed, and one of my kids just walked by it like, oh, there's a snake in the house. What? No, this is disgusting. I trapped it. I flung it out in the street. I made one of my other kids go get my neighbor to tell us like what kind of snake this was, and it was just a harmless garden snake, but still, it was in my house. Yeah, that's fun. So bugs, number 4. All right, number 5 is June grass. Now, this is seasonal, and it only affects you if you go into the water during this time. It's basically, it looks like seaweed. I've heard it's algae. I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but the reason I bring it up is because a lot of people come down here for the beach, and in the summertime in June, it's every other year it seems like we get it. So I don't know if that's like a cyclical thing or what, but it shows up in the water as almost like a black like line, kind of sort of, like if you're looking at it from the beach. But the reason I bring it up is because it's kind of a nuisance. So like if you're out there, like the first time we experienced it, we had just moved here. Our younger kids were 5 years old. Our family was in town who had toddlers as well. So we're out there in the beach, having fun, whatever. And it kind of just gets stuck like in your hair, in their bathing suit or whatever. And it's not going to hurt you. There's nothing wrong with it. But like if you're walking in the water, and if you're one of those kind of people that gets freaked out if something touches you, it touches you because it's all in the water. But so that's just something that's basically more of like a nuisance and annoying. But again, I just like to bring it up because we didn't know that was a thing. And going to the beach for the first time, we wanted to see the crystal clear water and all this stuff. And the other part that's kind of funny is sometimes on Facebook groups, people will say that they're down here and their whole vacation was ruined because there was June grass. Like, it's just seaweed or algae or whatever it is, but like it's just like little grassy things. So it's not going to hurt you, but it is kind of annoying. So that's number 5, June grass. All right, so we're halfway through the list. Has anything surprised you so far? Let me know in the comments down below, because the next 5 are a little bit more hard-hitting. Let's get back to it. All right, number 6, shopping. Now, Navarre doesn't have a ton of shopping. So if you're looking for, bigger box stores like a Target or a mall or things like that, places to go clothing shopping, you're going to have to go to either Pensacola or maybe up to Milton or over into Fort Walton and Destin. So, we've got a couple little boutiques. We've got, your standard grocery stores, some drugstores, things like that. There is a clothing store that's in Gulf Breeze, which is only about 20 minutes away from middle of Navarre. But we don't have those big shopping areas. We have, like I said, we have pretty much every grocery store you can think of, and like little drugstores and things like that. But those big stores, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Or, like I said in some other videos before, Amazon's going to be your new best friend. So if that's something that you like to go in the store, then you either have to just come to grips with the fact that you're going to be driving 30 to 40 minutes to get to those places, or you're going to have to shop online. So that is something to think about. A lot of people don't consider those things, but that's something to think about when you're moving to Navarre. Number 7 is employment options. So this is another thing that's kind of unusual about our area. So we are mostly tourists, and then we have a huge military population. So and we've always got hospitals, things like that. But if you have a specific career or something like that that you're following or trying to get into, make sure you do your research before you come down here, because we might not have as many jobs that would be in like bigger cities. So again, like for Navarre, if you're in banking, if you're in the medical field, a teacher, we need teachers, things like that. Or if you're connected to the military, you'll be able to find a job pretty much anywhere. Or if you're in tourism, so obviously we've got events planning type things, hotel management, that kind of stuff, bars and restaurants, stuff like that. You can find a job pretty much. You won't have a problem finding a job down here if you're in those kinds of fields. Other things, you're going to have to either go into Pensacola, which we're only about 30 to 45 minutes away, depending on how, where you live in Navarre and how deep you go into Pensacola, or maybe driving over to Destin, something like that. But that's something to think about. So when I first moved down here the first time, my husband and I just got married in 2006. I have a 4-year degree. It was really hard for me to find a job down here. Most of my jobs had been like customer service or design, things like that. But it was actually really hard to find a job down here because they saw that I had a 4-year degree, and this was again in 2006, so things might have changed a little bit. But they saw that I had a 4-year degree and they weren't able to pay me what I wanted, and I didn't get callbacks. So I had to call around and say, listen, like I get it. I just need a job, so hire me. So I finally did get a job with a wedding company, which was really fun. But those are just things to think about. If you're in those specific fields, like I said, education, healthcare, military, tourism, you're good. Otherwise, do some research first to make sure that they've got the job that you would want to have in this area. All right, number 8 is kind of only for those people that either have kids now or are going to have kids while they're here. And it's kind of a nuance, but I'm still gonna mention it because it threw me off a little bit. And when I have new buyers come down here and they're asking these questions, it kind of throws them off as well. So our schools, our middle school and below, do not have sports. So coming from the Midwest, we had sports from sometimes in elementary school, but at least in middle school and high school. In Santa Rosa County, we only have sports in the private schools or high school and above in their public schools. I've been told a whole bunch of different reasons why. I've been told that they use the money for the arts and music in our schools. I've been told that there's just not money, period, for it. I've been told that parents are more often likely to spend money on their own for sports, so they don't do it in schools. I don't know what the reason is. I've never gotten an actual official reason, but we don't have middle school sports. So that's just something to think about as well, especially if you're on a budget and those kinds of things. We do have plenty of opportunities to put your kids in sports, but just know that you're gonna have to pay for it. Number 9 are housing costs. So a lot of people come down here and they are actually a little surprised at how expensive housing is in Navarre, even on the rental side. We've got a couple different apartment complexes and they average around that $2,200 to $2,400 a month range. And then for our housing, you can definitely find things under that $300,000 mark, but they're going to be smaller and older. But our middle, average price point really is in that $400 to $600 range. And that, like I said, that surprises a lot of people. They're used to getting, even in like the Midwest suburbs or, on the East Coast or things like that, they're used to getting a little bit more house for their money. And in Navarre, 1, it's because of popularity, but 2, it's just we have bigger lots in a good section of the town, but we just have a higher price point. We are protected a lot from having constant military coming in and out, as well as tourism, as well as people that have either lived here before or traveled here before coming down here. So our prices don't fluctuate too much. So that's just one thing that I get a lot of when people are like, oh, I want a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and I only want to spend $350,000. We can find that, but it's going to be older. It's not going to be pretty or updated. You might have to do some maintenance on it when you move into it. But just know that our price points are a little on the higher side from anecdotally, I will say, when I hear people coming down here and looking for a home. All right, we are almost to the end here, and I just wanted to remind you, speaking of housing prices, that I am a real estate agent. So if you are thinking about moving down to Navarre and just have some questions, reach out to me. All of my information is going to be popping up here on the screen, or find me on my socials. I would love to help you. No pressure at all, even if it's just a, hey, is this a thing? Is this type of housing a thing? Or, what is this gonna cost me to move down here? Or, hey, can you recommend a lender? Something like that. I am not a pressure agent, and I would love to help you no matter how big or small. We are on to number 10, our 10th fact about Navarre that you need to know before moving here is there's not a lot to do here. I know that sounds weird, especially to say as I've been living here now for, oh gosh, 9 years, but our thing to do is the beach. Whenever someone asks me like, what's there to do in Navarre? It's the beach. And they'll be like, no, really, what is there? It's the beach. We don't have, the closest movie theater is in Gulf Breeze. There's restaurants and things like that. And there's, like I said, if you want to go shopping, you have to go to our east or west or maybe up north to Milton, but there's not stuff, right? So we, like Destin and Okaloosa Island and Pensacola has, mini golf or just golf courses in general. Your stuff to do is going to be surrounded by the beach. So kayaking, paddleboarding, boating, surfing if you're into that kind of stuff, snorkeling. It's going to be pretty much all outdoor based. And that's something that kind of also takes the people a little bit off guard. I personally like it because we don't have we're never going to be a Destin in my opinion and have all the stuff because we don't have any more land to build stuff on. So to me, I like it because it keeps things a little bit quiet and a little bit chill, like that beachy vibe that a lot of people like. But it's just something that if you want stuff to do, Navarre might not be the best fit for you. You might want to go to Pensacola or Fort Walton or Destin because there's more stuff there. So it's one thing that a lot of people kind of overlook because of how much people love coming here. But once you get here and you realize, oh, if I want to do something, if I want to go to the theater, I have to go to Pensacola or up to Northwest Florida State College. They have a cool theater program and ballet and things like that. But if I want to go to a concert, I have to go somewhere else for that as well. Sometimes we have some beach concerts, but your bigger names and stuff, you have to go to Orange Beach or you have to go to Pensacola or out to Miramar, things like that. So that's just something to think about if you really want an area to move to that's got stuff. If you move to Navarre, you're going to have to drive for it. Okay, so there you have it. The 10 things you need to know before deciding whether Navarre is going to be the best fit for you. I know this wasn't super uplifting and fun, but you need the good with the bad. You need to see really the whole picture when you're moving somewhere because even if you're spending, under $300,000, that's a lot of money. And to lock into a home for even a couple years before you could sell it to even break even, you're going to have to be in that house and in this area for a long time. So I just like making sure that my buyers and sellers know exactly what they're doing throughout the process, but as well as, that my buyers coming down here, that they know that this is the best place for them. So I hope you've gained something along the lines. I hope you learned a little bit here, but I would love it if you hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and then make sure you ring the bell so you know the next time I drop another video. See you guys next time.